Hey everyone, this is me, Undead Viking. I want to talk to you about this game. It is called Xibalba. I don't have a game box, so you can see the name right there, Xibalba, which is cool. Totally as an aside, when I was a D&D campaign, I ran like, oh man, this is like 5, 6, 7 years ago, or maybe earlier. There was a character named Xibalba. My buddy Brent played him. He was a sorcerer, and I think Xibalba. I forget what Xibalba means, but I mean, Xibalba is the name of like a death metal band. That's where he got the name from. So whatever. It was kind of neat when I saw the name. I was like, wait a minute, I know that name from somewhere. Xibalba is okay, comparisons are going to be made, and so I'm just going to say it all right. Xibalba is kind of like a King of Tokyo game. Each player is going to have a faction. The faction is going to then have warriors, and they're going to put warriors in this central area called the Arc. When you have a warrior in the Arc, you're able to collect victory points that are going to help you win. If you are able to keep your warrior alive, the longer it stays alive in the Arc, kind of like, the King of the Hill kind of thing, the more points they'll gather. And everybody else is going to beat down that warrior in the middle to knock him out so they can take the place of the warrior and gain points for that particular faction. No, but this is not King of Tokyo. This is an entirely different animal. There's so much more going on with this game. You have different types of structures, different citizens, you have events that you purchase, all kinds of things that you're going to be able to use to enable yourself to get into the position to win. But at its core, it is still a dice game and something that I very, very much enjoyed. I dug the theme, I dug the art, and like I said, King of Tokyo is like a game that I really enjoy, but I always wish there was a little more meat on the bone, and in this case, I finally have it. So let me show you how to play Xibalba, and then we'll go ahead and we'll talk more about the game in my conclusion. Alright, cool. Alright, this is Xibalba, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to play right now, but just a couple quick things before we dive into the turn structure. What you see in front of you here is a player board. There will be a player board for each player. I didn't have room to show all of them, but you each get one of these. You just go ahead and place that in front of you, and then these are the different locations that you'll be using to put your cards that you're going to be gaining. These are for warriors right here, and this is called your war host, this pile here, and I'll explain that in just a quick second. And these spots down here, you have 4 of them, are the locations that you get to put both your structures and your citizens that you hire. You might notice these big giant decks of cards over here. Those are the different types of cards that you can purchase on your turn that have different effects. These are the structures, these are events, these are warriors, and these are citizens. The war host is unique in the fact that you can hire as many warriors as you like. The thing is that you have to keep stacking the warriors one on top of each other, and you can't just go through them and pick the one that you want to use on any given turn. Whatever card happens to be on top is the one that will be your designated warrior, unless you spend some resources to reorganize that deck, which is something you can do, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But, so when you decide your attack, the one that is on top is the one that you'll use for that purpose. And, so just keep that in mind when we move forward into the part where I talk about how attacks work. As I said, there's 4 spots, and each of these spots can be used for both citizens or structures. You can have 4 structures, you can have 4 citizens, it doesn't matter. Just, you can pick away. This track right here is the number of resources that you have. It tops out at 25. You can't gain any more resources above 25. Just keep that in mind. So if you have like 23 and you gain 4 resources, 2 of those resources would be null and void. This right here is your base upgrade location. The reason you upgrade your base is it becomes tougher and tougher to attack you as you have your base. You can see here that it has resistance of 2, 3, 4, and 4, and also this +1, +1, +2, +3. What that is that's the number of bonus resources you get at the beginning of your turn, depending on how powerful your base is. This track here is a track that tracks your Paragon. Paragon is basically your victory points. Whoever gets to the level of whatever the players decided they're going to play to first is going to win the game. In this case, we have a 4-player game, and the suggested total amount is 20 for a 4-player game because of the fact that you have a bunch of players. Though you could play up to 40 if you wanted to have a really long game. 3 players is suggested to play to 30, and 4 players is suggested to be to 40. You place another marker on there to designate how many points you're going to be playing to in that particular time that you're playing Xibalba. Alright, so over here, this is the Ark. The Ark will be the location that you're going to be placing warriors inside of it so you can collect Paragon. When you put a warrior in there, he can be attacked by other people to kind of knock him out of there, or her, I should mention, that then you won't be able to collect Paragon anymore. So that's generally what you're seeing in front of you. I should mention that each one of these decks have these cards here and here are ones that you permanently add to your little tableau here. However, these are event cards and they're a one-time thing where you get them, you use them for their ability, and then you discard them. Each one of these spots has a discard pile, as you can see, and if you ever were to run out, you just shuffle up the discard pile and then go ahead and place them back over to there. Anytime a card is taken, you immediately replace it from the deck that it represents. Pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure you're going to guess that anyway. Alright, so on the beginning of your turn, when it is your turn, you'll go through what's called the effects phase. There are 3 different phases. There's the effects phase, there is the dice phase, and there's the action phase. I'll talk about each of those in turn. During the effects phase, you do your basic base action, which is +1 resource, so we get this. I should mention, because we have 4 players, you start with 4 resources. 3 players, 3 resources. 3 resources, 2 players, 2 resources. Also straightforward. That's just kind of give you a leg up, so you like your first turn, in case you roll poor resource dice, you can still possibly purchase a card. So you get that bonus resource, whatever that is. Some cards, like this one here, this research facility, also take effect during the effects phase. You can tell that by that icon right there, and then you gain 2 resources. So if I had this here as one of my cards, I gain an extra 2 resources for doing so. But I don't, because it's the first turn of the game. But just keep that in mind. And then like other ones, just because it's a warrior, like this guy, the Hermit, you gain 1 resource. He also has an effect during the effects phase. But remember, he's got to be on the top of your war host to be able to do that. So just those effects wouldn't take place if they wasn't there. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to roll resource dice. Now these 2 are Paragon dice. We're not going to worry about those right now. But these dice are all the different dice that you can add to your dice pool, which are going to be rolling. Now, you can only roll up to 6, and you can obviously only have 4 of each dice. The red ones are the attack dice, the yellow ones are the resource dice. Now, mind you, this is a prototype, so whereas these are just dice that have stickers on them, obviously, when this game is published, they're going to look a lot different from what you see here. So on your turn, you go ahead and pick which ones you want. So probably what we're going to do, in the first turn of the game, we want resources, we want to be able to get cards, so we're going to take 4 resource dice and 2 attack dice. Now, some cards out there, like this guy, he is a citizen, and if you have him, you notice he has a marker that says during the dice phase, it says add 1 resource die to your dice pool. Now that does not mean you get to add an extra resource die to the 4 we have. You couldn't add one, because you can have, at maximum, have only 4 of each dice. But what that does mean is that I could, for my turn, pick these dice to roll, 3 attack dice and 3 resource dice, and then I could add another resource die, so I'd have 7 dice to roll on my turn. So that's what that means when you get to add a die to the resource pool. So this is going to follow the mechanism of Yahtzee games that you've probably played. You're going to roll these dice, you're going to pick which ones you want, you're going to roll them again, you're going to pick which ones you want, you're going to roll them again. So let's just see what we get here. So alright, we got, these are good, so let's go ahead and keep a 3 and a 2 for resource, and we got 1 attack result, that's good. And so now we're going to roll these dice again. And I got 3 blanks, so that is a pretty easy decision. Now, if I had gotten one with a 1 on it, I might be thinking, well, I want to gamble and, re-roll that because I want to maybe get a better result. Also, attack dice have the ability to be upgraded to what's called a critical hit die, so when you use them to attack, they get a +1 bonus to their power. But, so you might want to re-roll a normal attack in case, as situations change as the game progresses. So let's re-roll all these again. And I got lucky, and I got those, but I did not get anything with this. So we're going to go ahead and put that aside. And so what we do now with these dice is we move into our action phase. And what these dice are going to be here, and we're going to use them by removing them from this action pool as we use them. So I can use these to gain resources. So I have 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to go ahead and increase our resources up high like that, all the way by 8. And we're going to remove them, and so now we have these resources available to us, and we have that attack die, but we can't attack anything because we don't have a warrior yet, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and purchase this Hermit. I like that guy. So we're going to purchase him at cost 3, so we're going to reduce it down to 10 for our available resources. And now if we wanted to, we could go ahead and make our attack into that location. But let's go ahead and pull the next card over. So now we got a Ronin. So it costs 5. So, and it says that a Ronin may not be blocked when attacking a base. So that's a pretty good power. So maybe we'll get tricky here. And because we really like that gain 1+1 resource for our next turn, let's go ahead and reduce that by 5 and purchase our Ronin, like so. So we now purchased, so now we've stacked them up in the War Host. But normally, as you can see, we're not going to get that bonus of +1 because the Ronin's on top of it. But what we could do is we could go ahead and spend this attack to go ahead and place him within the arc. Now, when we place him within the arc, that means we are able to gain Paragon. Paragon is what causes us to possibly win the game. And when you immediately go into there, no, normally you'd have to attack it, and if there was another warrior within there, you would have to defeat that warrior by killing him and then taking his place, kind of a King of the Hill type of situation. But in this case, he has a 1 on his Paragon level, like you can see right here. And so we get to roll 1 die to see if we gain any points that way. So let's see what we get here. I got 0, so I didn't get anything. But if I gotten, say, like 2 or 1, let's say I got a 1, we'd go ahead and put our total score up to 1 on that particular spot. Now, when it is the next person's turn, as long as our warrior is within the arc, we get to roll on their dice phase. We get to roll our Paragon dice to add to our total. So, you know, obviously the characters, other players are going to want to knock out my Ronin and take him out. So he can't. I can't. I can't gain more points. Now, the thing is that he has hit points equal to his resistance plus the total number of players. So we have a 4-player game, so he has a 4 resistance. We're going to go ahead and add that to make it 8. Now, notice this arrow down here. This is to designate who owns the warrior that is in the arc at that time. So if the Ronin was owned by somebody else, you know, the arrow would point to another player, like so. That also is a good, it's a good way to tell, kind of like who when the warrior got in there as far as whose turn, because obviously it doesn't go in there unless it's the person's turn that does it. So anyway, so that would spend our attack die like so. Well, we still have 5 resources left, so maybe we want to buy something else. We could maybe buy a research facility or this watchtower. We could take an event if we wanted to for whatever reason. Oh, and I forgot to replace that warrior. Oops, sorry about that. So we're going to go ahead and put that there as well. Or maybe one of these citizens or whatever, like this, the Hanzo dealer, he's a pretty good citizen. But there are other options as well. You can, if you want to, spend a resource to discard a card, either one that's that you have in your tableau or in your war host, or one of the cards that's out on one of those open decks. You just go ahead and put it in the discard pile, and then if it's one of these out here, you go ahead and replace it with the one from the card. You can, if you want to, for 2, allow you to reorganize your war host or reorganize the locations. So like if you have a big stack of warriors and you wanted to go ahead and put a different warrior on top, that would cost you, as you can see, it would cost you 2 resources to go ahead and do that. Now, I should mention that these costs are just for the Shikai here, as I can show you, like here, for the Castor, you can see that it has different totals for those. And so there is a very subtle difference in the way that you might be able to play each one of these particular, factions, if you will. So just keep that in mind. All right, so for the Shikai, I'm able to add 1 health to my person that happens to be in the arc. So I can increase it from 8. And so if he's injured but not killed off before it comes back around to me, I could heal him up with my resources if I wanted to do so. This action here, for 1, for the Shikai, I'm able to go ahead and make a die roll that is a normal attack, turn it into a critical attack for 1 resource. For 3 resources, I'm able to go ahead and add an attack die to my roll. I roll it, and hopefully I get a good result, and I can add that to my, my dice pool that's available to me. And then for a flat 6 resources, I can just go ahead and add 1 roll of a Paragon die to my total if I want to. It's just kind of a passive way of getting it. So those are the different options available to me as well. So with my 5 left, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to buy this Hanzo dealer, because I like the fact that I can add a resource die to my roll every single time. So we'll go ahead and move it down to 2. And why don't I spend my last 2, and I probably shouldn't spend them all, but I'm going to spend my last 2 on health and go ahead and add that to my Ronin so he's tougher to kill. Notice that it has a maximum of 20. It can't be increased higher than that. So, now, later on, other players are going to want to attack the Ronin that's in there. Now, I'm just, for example, if somebody was attacking with this scout here. So they have this scout, and he has, and notice how the scout has the cool bonus ability of adding 1 attack die to your dice pool. He has an attack power of 2. So if they were attacking my Ronin on another person's turn, if they had, like, say, like, they had 4 attack dice they roll, let's see what they get here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. Let's say we had that and that. So a normal attack and a critical. So what happens there is that you get to add 1, because for the critical you add 1 to the power of your attack, so power would be 3. And then for each one of these powers, we're going to go ahead and attack with that power. So then power of 3 with 2 would be 6. Actually, technically, this is a 3 and this would still be a 2, so it'd be a total of 5. And so then if I was attacked, I would go ahead and reduce that down to 5. And then the next person that attacks would then, possibly be able to take him out and then replace them with their particular warrior. So that's how you go ahead and make attacks to the person that's in the arc. Now, if I wanted to, like, let's say the other person, let's just move this so we can kind of show, like this person over here, took out my Ronin, so he was gone, and the scout was in there, and it was that person's turn, and oh, I got another Ronin. I can get another one. Sweet. So when this person attacks, they can choose, if they wish, to attack. And we've had a couple turns. Let's say we got like 4 Paragon. They can, on their turn, decide if they're going to attack another player. If they attack another player, they have to go ahead and take their resistance into effect. Plus, if they're going to be blocked by any warrior they may possibly have. So, once again, they're going to roll those attack dice, and if they have attack dice, let's say they had 1 critical attack die, like so. And we hadn't upgraded our base yet to a level 4. So, what would happen is that this one would have an attack value of 3. And so, if he attacked me, what would happen is we'd compare the resistance of 2 to their attack value of 3. Well, I wouldn't be able to defend against it. If I didn't use my Hermit to block, and if you use the Hermit to block, what happens then is that regardless, basically what happens is that the attack is going to fail as far as being able to affect me, but you're going to lose your Hermit. The Hermit's going to be killed, and so it's going to go into the discard pile. But if we chose not to, they would then be able to destroy one of my cards over here, so they could go ahead and kill my Hanzo dealer, like so, you jerk, and then they'd be able to roll the Paragon dice that the warrior has, and in this case they got 3, and they'd be able to steal 3 Paragon from me and add to their own total. So obviously in this situation you'd probably want to block, even though you really like this game 1 resource from your Hermit, I'd probably want to block him, so even though I'd lose the Hermit, I would not lose my Hanzo dealer, and I would not lose any Paragon as well. But, that's how attacks work if you are in this location, and then you can go ahead and attack other players. Remember, they can kill any of these locations, even whether it is a citizen or a structure. They can use it for that purpose. But that's how the game works. Each person takes their complete and total turn, and then they go to the next person, and so on and so forth. It is a game of King of the Hill. You want to get your warrior in there. You want to keep them alive as long as possible so that they can do damage to other people and steal their Paragon, so you can gain victory points. But also, obviously, you're going to be rolling the Paragon of the warrior each and every turn. Not just your own, remember that. Each and every turn to add to your total. Whoever is able to get to the set upon victory point total first will win the game and be crowned the champion of Xibalba. So there you go. I really like it. I mean, I referenced King of Tokyo, in my introduction. This is like a weird King of Tokyo for adults, I guess, in a weird way. If you want to be, I mean, it's just got more to it. It's got more meat on the bone, if you will. Well, let me talk about more of that in my conclusion. I won't do it right now. So let's go to that right now. All right, thanks for learning how to play Xibalba. As I said, if you've played games with the Yahtzee mechanic, you're probably going to understand this one pretty well. Obviously, where the game kind of opens up is all the different cards and all the different abilities that you have. I didn't really touch on the events. I apologize, but I mean, the events, as I said, are just one-time powers that you may want to use for different effects. Like there's this explosive ammo where all of your soldiers, all of your warriors get +1 to their power until the end of your turn, so they just continue having that ability. You have this transport card. You can immediately make 1 free attack with any of your soldiers against any base, and the attack cannot be blocked. So it's like this, like super powerful. Like you don't have to have your soldier in the middle. So the event cards are just like abilities to break the rules, but in a way that like you don't have to. I shouldn't say like you don't have to. Plan, but I mean, they allow you to just kind of skip a lot of the situations. Like here it says, missile. For 4 resources, you can just destroy 1 enemy structure. You can just, so somebody's got a really cool, like, they're gaining a lot of resource dice or whatever because of a structure or gaining resources each turn, so you just blow it up with a missile, and they just take it out. And so, at its heart, this is a game that, like, as I said, it's rolling the dice and trying to keep yourself in a position of power for as long as you possibly can, longer than your opponent, so you can gain those points. One of the best things I love about King of Tokyo was the fact that it inspires a lot of table talk. It inspires a lot of people, like, scheming against each other, trying to convince other players, you gotta attack him, you gotta take him out, you gotta get this, you gotta get that. But also what I like about it is that these games, like, there's no downtime, really. I mean, the player's turn doesn't take a long time, but everybody is always keenly interested in watching the dice fall and see what they get. It's one of those things where I've told the story a few times about a King of Tokyo game where my daughter almost won the last roll of the dice. I mean, there's stuff like that going on. You're going to have a situation where it's really rare for anybody to really, blast out and get ahead of everybody in Xibalba. So everybody's always going to be kind of grouped around the same kind of point total, and everybody always feels like they're just one good turn away from winning once they get close to that victory point total. And then that's when everybody becomes keenly extra aware of what's going on, and that's when the table talk, that's when the scheming starts. Like, you got to destroy that structure, you got to take this out, you got to take that out, you got to do this. And so I like that. I like the interactivity. I like the fun level, and I enjoy the fact that, like, instead of a situation where the downtime kind of makes people wish that they were like had their phone out staring at it or whatever, instead they're worried about whether or not they're going to lose the game, and so that just heightens the intensity of the fun that I have with this one. Now, as I said, the comparisons are completely valid, and like this is, as I said, kind of like an adult version. Now, for the matter that, like, my daughter has played this and she likes it, so it isn't like so complex that kids can't get it. But because of the fact that you actually have to build something up, and the fact that, like, I always felt in King of Tokyo that, like, the cards, the energy cards you bought with energy or whatever, I always thought those were kind of, I mean, they just didn't seem like they were that important. It seemed like if you just focused upon, attacking and taking over Tokyo and being in that position to gain those points, it was just, that was the easiest, best way. Or just rolling really well on your dice, just like, and getting lots of numbers on there to gain those points. That always seemed like a better way to victory than it was to, like, search and trying to find the right card for the right section for the right purpose, and so you get that, you always got that giant deck of cards and you never really got through any of it because nobody ever really focused on it. But in here, the cards are what makes your faction. I mean, you need good citizens, you need good structures and things like that. And the fact of the matter is that you only need, really, I mean, to take it over. I mean, obviously you have to kind of whittle the warrior that's inside the arc down, but I mean, you have like 2 attack dice for sure each turn, and you're rolling, and so, like, and you don't really have to worry about, like, your soldier being killed. It doesn't have, like, the king or the person in the arc doesn't have, like, a all-encompassing I attack everybody at the exact same time type of situation. They have to single out a certain faction to use their attack dice against. So you're always going to be kind of attacking and taking down that central figure because of the fact that you're always going to have at least 2 of those dice, and because of the fact that you can use resources to purchase more dice. You can have more, and so on and so forth. So you know, that kind of lends itself to the whole thing where I really felt every single time we played this game, every single one of the players always was in a position to possibly win, you know, just that one last turn, that one last good turn. So, you know, the fact is that, like, since you can, if you are in the middle and you have an opponent that's doing well, you can attack. I like, you know, taking people's points away from them and putting them in mine. That's a double, two-way swing, right? And so there's things like that about the game that just, it seems to just open itself up to a lot more different strategy and a lot more different, you know, just, I use the term meat on the bone, but I mean, it just seemed like there was just more there, more substance, if you will. You know, so that, you know, in itself, you know, I could play both games, but it would just kind of depend on my mood. You know, if I wanted something a little lighthearted and I just didn't really want to, like, kind of, you know, just, you know, playing it with my daughter or playing with my family, I think King of Tokyo would be the role I'd go, you know, just because of the fact that, like, it's more presentable, if you will. But if I wanted more of a gritty, more of a down and dirty, like, you know, antagonistic game, if you will, I definitely would play this with my gaming group over King of Tokyo, you know, 9 times out of 10. So there you go. So if you like this type of game, I think you're going to really like it. I invite you to go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions about Xibalba, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.